We are in Samaná, Dominican Republic. Beautiful place, man. As you can see in the background, I like to bring my beautiful views to you to help get you guys to get outside your comfort zone, travel a little bit, you know, grow into a person, grow into a better person, get into that next level. Picture yourself, increase your imagination to where you could be, guys. Wherever you can see yourself being is exactly where you can be. You just have to take the steps to get there. But today I want to talk about happiness, you know, because a lot of people my age are getting very depressed, and me at a young age, I've gotten through depression very early. So, you know, it's very easy for me to spot out how people are feeling, but it's hard to help people because it's kind of like a solo journey to get out of depression. And that's why I'm trying to make these videos, because the pressure's off. You know, it's not a one-on-one conversation, because people don't normally want to talk when they're in depression. They feel like they're in a box. So that's another reason I'm making these videos. So all the pressure's off, man. All you do is watch it. If it helps you change your perspective a little bit, puts you in another level, that is what I'm here to do, guys. But today I want to talk about happiness and the number one thing that's going to make you happy. All right, guys, let's be real. There is not any one thing that's going to make you happy. Happiness is so hard to really fit in a container, in a small box, to really explain, because it's so broad, guys. There's so many different levels of happiness, you know? Obviously, when we go on vacation to a place like this, we're going to be very happy. You know, we're going to be very elevated in our dopamine levels, serotonin levels in our brains. That's going to make us feel happy. It's going to make us feel great. But what happens when you come back from vacation? You know, when you come back home and you're smacked with reality, it's like, hey, I'm not on vacation anymore. What do I do? You know, and then we spiral back in that depression if that's where we're at, because of work, because of the situation that we're in, because of the feelings that we have. And when we're on a place like in vacation, we are temporarily taken out of our feelings of that. We replace those feelings, kind of put them aside for a little bit to feel greater feelings of living in paradise. You know, life is great, when in reality, you know, when you come back, it might not be that way. So you can't really put happiness in a box, guys. So you have to look at it from a couple different levels. I mean, like I say in a lot of other videos, man, core values. What do you like to do? Who are you at a core level? Who are you? You know, if you're not taking time to sit down with yourself, meditate, figure out who you are, what you like to do, then it's probably gonna be very difficult for you to be happy. Because let me give you an example. Let's say that you are happy for a moment, right? And you're feeling happiness for a couple days in a week, and then something happens and it completely blows you away, and you are now not on your foundation because you don't have those core values or beliefs, or you don't know what makes you happy, so you just get blown over. And then you let the emotions of the outside world influence you, and then you take those on into a reality and your personal ideals and realization of yourself. And you know, when you have that core values, that core foundation, it's hard to be shaken. You know, you're a rock, you can't be moved. And that's where I want to get you guys. I want you guys to sit with yourself, you know, just relax, you know, be able to sit with yourself. And because when you sit with yourself and meditate, or if you just sit with yourself in general, your thoughts are going to come, and that's when your feelings start coming in. And you have to really sit down, realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your feelings. You know, they're just fleeting, they come by, and you have to notice them. And then when you notice them, you can take yourself and separate yourself from your thoughts and your feelings, and you can no longer be in that depressed state, because you realize that's not who you are. It's just things that are going through your head. You're not relating with that. And you know, what that's going to do is that's going to allow you to be able to sit with yourself more comfortably, because you're going to realize that you're not your thoughts. You're going to be able to sit there, and you're going to become more happy with yourself. You're going to feel an enjoyment, you're going to feel bliss, you're going to feel peace, and you're going to feel that throughout you, and it's going to become very addictive, and you're not going to want that to not feel that anywhere. So the more that you practice this, the more you have internal bliss, the more you have internal peace, and you won't be shaken, guys. And then you build up your core beliefs. You know, who are you? You know, what do you hold up above that you won't let anyone take from you? You know, for me, it's I'm always going to be a kind soul. I'm always going to be the person that's going to go to the other person, make them feel good. You know, I want people, when I leave a room, they feel a lot better than before I came in it. You know, that's my core value, you know, is love. You know, I always hold love up above everything. I'm not going to spread fear. I'm not going to spread hate. I'm not going to put negative energy out there, because I always want, when I walk into a room, have more positive energy, guys. I want to have more friends around me. I want to have more people. I want to include people. You know, I want to build people up. I don't want to break them down. You know, my core values are confidence. My core values are trust, love. You know, those little things are my foundation, you know. That can't shake me, because no matter what I go into a room, I know who I am. No one can shake me to the point where I don't know who I am anymore. And that is such a great feeling, guys. And when you get there, it's phenomenal. But I really want to go into something I wasn't really going to put in this video, but this is not something I learned from anybody. It's kind of what I put into my experiences. I put them together. I kind of you could put it in different perspectives, like the triangle of happiness or the triangle of love. Has 3 sides, guys, or 3 points, however you want to look at it. But in each corner is a very important aspect of your life that connects to happiness and allows you to have that pursuit of happiness. But if you're out of balance, then what's going to happen is you're not going to be happy to the whole entirety, because you want to be in the middle of the triangle. But if you have one of the sides off, you're going to be lopsided, and it's just not going to work, guys. I mean, you'll feel happy temporarily, but what's going to happen is when you have that lack in that one area, it's going to put you off, and you are no longer going to be able to be happy, because, you know, months will go by, and then since you have that lack, it's going to bring you back to a more depressed state, guys. So the 3 areas that I think are key and fundamental are love for yourself. You know, that's the most important one, in my opinion. You know, if you don't have love for yourself, then you can't really love any other ones, and you can't really get these other 2 aspects of the triangle, which is so important. You know, I used to never love myself, and I used to be lacking in all 3 areas. So when you have a foundation and a love for yourself, then your life can start growing. You can start changing your life. You can start analyzing opportunities, new people to come in your life. You can analyze them, whether you actually want them in your life, because when you're coming in a place with a lack of love, you're just accepting everybody in your life, and you're not weeding out the people that probably shouldn't be there. The second area is love with friends. You know, you gotta have friends in your circle. You gotta have friends that are around you to build you up when you're broken down. If you can't do it yourself, you know, friends that take you out and get you away from things going through your mind. Because if you're sitting there, you know, you can have love for yourself, but if you're there by yourself all the time, you get lonely, guys. So if you don't have friends, then it's not gonna allow you to be whole in your 100% complete self. So friends are very crucial, but it's also important the type of friends that you have around you, because you can have people that in your life that are toxic, man. I've had so many toxic people in my life, and unfortunately I wasn't able to analyze them and be aware of that because I was in my head so much, you know. I thought they were for me, but they weren't really doing anything for me. You know, not to be selfish, but you gotta have a mutual relationship with people, you know. If they're taking more than they're giving and providing, then that's a negative relationship, guys. It should be an equal balance. You should be giving, they should be giving, you know. Me personally, I always like to give a little more, but, you know, that's just me and my, you know, personality. But when you got yourself, when you got love for yourself, when you got love for your friends, the last thing that you have is love with a significant other, because you could have friends and you could have love for yourself, but if you're not going out with another person, you know, you see all your friends going out and they're in a relationship and you're not, that's gonna beat you down. That's gonna make you feel under the weather. And unfortunately, you know, it sucks to see people there. I've been there myself, and it's just a hurt place, guys. So you want to have all 3 of these areas. So, but unfortunately, you can't have, you know, a lot of good friends if you don't respect yourself. You have to respect yourself, or else you're never gonna get respect from other people. So if you don't respect yourself, love for yourself, you're never gonna have the second area, which is gonna have friends in your life, which is gonna make you more happier because you have a social life and you go out and have fun. You know, it's hard to have fun by yourself. I mean, you can do it, but it's a lot more difficult, guys. So once you have love for yourself, you can bring around some good people. Then you have love, and it makes you more happier. And then when you have love for yourself and you have good people around you, you're just gonna attract the love of your life that you want. You know, you have to really picture who you want in your life, you know, as a partner. Narrow it down, have some goals, have some checklists of what you want in your life, and don't settle for anything less, man, because you deserve what you deserve. And if you don't know what you deserve, how are you gonna get what you deserve? So really analyze yourself, you know, what do I deserve? What characteristics do I have that I want in a significant other? And then when you get to that point, when you have all 3, when you have a strong partner that's gonna build you up and not break you down, because there's so many toxic relationships out there that I see personally day to day that are toxic relationships that are gonna break you down. And how are you gonna be your best self? How are you gonna approach work to get promotions? How are you gonna approach opportunities to step ahead of your life if you have someone that's constantly in your corner breaking you down? You know, same with friends. You know, it won't be as much because you're not spending so much time together, but they're still gonna break you down. Be careful who you surround yourself with. And then when you have that rock solid girl in your corner, then you know that life is just gonna get better because you guys are growing together. You guys are putting yourself on that next level. You guys are pushing each other to grow and expand, to get out of your comfort zone. And you guys are gonna become the best version of yourselves. And that's where I want you. And then you'll be happy, guys. You're pursuing what you want to pursue. You're doing what you like to do. You're with people that you like. Your life is ultimately everything that you like, and it's looking phenomenal. So, you know, if you keep growing and pushing yourself, and you're gonna keep developing, you're gonna have good people around you surrounding yourself to develop you into the person that you need to become, you're just gonna be on top of the world. Life is gonna be looking good, and it's just gonna be phenomenal. But guys, that's just my little basic of, you know, what's gonna make you happy, because it's hard to be happy. And it's very difficult especially in this world when so many people are more depressed, man. Like 50% of people out here are depressed, and I've been through that, and it's super difficult. So with that, you know, I just want to give you guys some views to inspire you to go out here and travel, to change the world a little bit, change yourselves, and then you can change the world. But with that, have a good rest of the day, have a good rest of the night, change your life. It's up to you.